Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of my 12 favorite Diana Ross albums. This is a series where I discuss the 12 most important Diana Ross albums in my point of view and ones that have really marked her career in a more important way than others. Although I'd love to do her 50 best albums and my 50 favorite because I really love everything she does. But today we are talking about an album where she shares the spotlight with Marvin Gaye, none other than Marvin Gaye, and it is the beautiful, beautiful album, which I consider a love album, Diana and Marvin. And it is a love sounding album, but it was a difficult process and difficult to make, and certainly a little bit difficult for Miss Diana Ross, because this is a time when in the 70s, Marvin Gaye being a huge star and Diana Ross being a huge star, they were both the number one stars of Motown. There was a little bit of friction. And although Diana Ross was very happy and thrilled to record with Marvin Gaye that she admired so much, you hear her in her very early interviews with the Supremes where she says, Marvin Gaye, we love him, we love him, we love him. But for Marvin Gaye, singing next to a woman, getting second billing, um, there was a little bit of, snarling and, being a little bit difficult. And he confessed later on that he had been cavalier with Diana Ross and that he could have handled the situation in a better way. And this is where we realize that Diana Ross is the incredible professional that she is, and because on this album you will never ever feel that Diana Ross is not happy or that Diana Ross is not being given her part and her share of the cake. She just does it and gives her full everything, her talent, her voice, her love, and you really feel that this is a loving couple. Now, the cover of the album, this is the reissue by Motown. Again, an incredible reissue, and Motown makes beautiful, beautiful reissues, and there are 4 songs that were never heard before. And I do not discuss these songs because I talk about the album as it came out at the time in 1973, produced by Hal Davis, the incredible producer, and the executive producer was Berry Gordy. And this is where you know that he truly, truly wanted this project to come about. And the idea came in as early as 1970, but the recording process dragged on up until 1973. And you don't feel it on the album. You don't feel as though there are some songs that were written or sung 3 years before or 3 years after. It really is very complete. And that's why I discuss certain of these albums, because I want to be able to share with you albums that are absolutely perfect. And I love hearing from you that some of the albums, like the one I spoke of before, which is Baby It's Me, you tell me it's just a perfect album. Every single song is gorgeous. And that's what I love about these 12 albums that I have chosen. And it was not easy. Now, the first song on this album is You Are Everything. And from what I understand, it is the only one that was recorded by both of them together at the same time, because later on this album, the songs were recorded separately. Now, Marvin Gaye had done a lot of duets. He had sung duets with Tammy Terrell, and she died tragically, and that's why he had decided never to sing with another woman again. He kind of thought it was a bad omen. He had sung with the beautiful Mary Wells as well, and then after they had recorded, she had abruptly stopped recording, and then he had also recorded with Kim Weston. And so he thought that all of this recording with women brought down tragedies or unhappy events, and so he did not want to record again. Now, once he was given the opportunity to record with Diana Ross, that was a different story. And Um, Let's Get It On was his last album, and it was a huge, huge hit. And Diana Ross's last album before this one was Touch Me in the Morning, with the huge #1 hit, Touch Me in the Morning. And very funnily enough, she had sung on this album Save the Children as part of a medley. And the song Save the Children is from Marvin Gaye's album What's Going On, the critically acclaimed album What's Going On. So you understand that Diana Ross has huge admiration for Marvin Gaye. Now, after You Are Everything, which is just beautiful, they have their beautiful speaking voice at the beginning, oh Diana, I want to give everything to you, oh Marvin, you are everything. And then it just goes up and you have this little drum that follows them along, and it's a beautiful, beautiful love song. And we go straight into Love Twins, which is sung just so beautifully, and there's a real fusion between the two of them. Now, they would record the entire song by themselves, both parts, as if it was a solo song. And then the songs were cut up, re-engineered, and then they would go back into the booth and record with the voice, respectively, of Diana Ross or of Marvin's, depending on who was singing. And then it was remixed a second time using the best of each other. So sometimes, as Marvin Gaye said, he didn't know who was going to begin the song, because he would have sung both parts. And sometimes he would start, sometimes Diana Ross would start, and sometimes they would be put together. And the engineering is amazing, but also the orchestration. And it is a big, big, well-produced album with a huge orchestra. You have violins, you have drums, you have guitars, you have a lot of beats. So it's really very, very well produced, but never overproduced. Don't Knock My Love is a very fast-paced Wilson Pickett song that Diana Ross did not like. And I always listen to the albums shortly before recording so that I don't miss anything. And there's a phrase in that song where she says, if you don't eat it, don't taste it, somebody else might want to taste it. So you can understand that it's not the kind of words that she wants to sing. However, it is very, very telling of this album, because Don't Knock My Love could also be don't knock this album, don't knock this project. If you don't like it, don't knock it. Somebody else might want to rock it. And you really could understand Diana Ross saying that to Marvin Gaye, who said that he had been cavalier towards Diana Ross and that he could have really dealt with the situation in a different way. Now, Diana Ross was pregnant with Rhonda, and Marvin Gaye liked to enjoy smoking, shall we say, during the recordings. And so it was a real problem, and that's what decided the production to separate them. And so the rest of the album is recorded separately, but you never again hear this when you're listening to the album. You're a very special part of me. You have these hearts, this choir singing, and they really sing this with so much passion and so much love. You're a special part of me is really just a beautiful, beautiful love song. And Pledging My Love, which takes on a more religious tune to it. You kind of hear it as if it's something that's almost sung in a church, and it is a cantique, you would say in French. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And Just Say is a song in this album which you will, if you hear it today, is the most modern song. It's a song that could be recorded today in that same orchestration. And it is penned by Nicholas Ashford and Valerie Simpson. And it was their last work with Motown until they reunited with Diana Ross again for the Boss Project, the entire album that they produced for Diana Ross, the amazing album. Stop, Look, Listen to Your Heart, my favorite song. It's just so beautiful. It's a ballad sung by Johnny Mathis. My partner made me discover Johnny Mathis's version. Absolutely gorgeous as well. And, when Diana Ross just begins her part, she's second, when she says, just stop, look, listen to your heart, hear what it's saying. It's just so perfectly put, so delicate, never ever any competition. Sometimes Marvin Gaye kind of goes off, and you can really feel that he is living the song, feeling the music, but he's all by himself. And he's not thinking that he has a partner with him on certain tracks. But it's able to be put together. But the one who really glues this project together is Miss Diana Ross. Now, of course, this is a Diana Ross uh, uh, channel, so I, of course, will defend her. But you really feel it that she is listening to her partner. And this is where you really understand how professional she is, because you have to remember Diana Ross is a very, very young artist, and she had done duets with the Temptations, and I'm Gonna Make You Love Me is really one of my favorite songs because they work so well together. And the very, very high pitched voice of Marvin Gaye, almost as high as Diana Ross, and Diana Ross had a very high voice, especially at that time, but it really works well. But there's got to be somebody who's kind of taking the whole song together to be able to bind it. I'm Falling in Love, again, a ballad. There's a lot of ballads and a lot of love songs on this album. And this was the idea of making a couple, of creating a musical couple. An interesting thing is that the inside picture of the inside sleeve of this album. So when you had the real vinyl, it was slit in half where they're both back to back. And a lot of critics explained that this was very telling also of the construction of this album, because they're kind of at war, back to back and not looking at each other. And then it was cut in half right here. And when it opened in two, you had this picture of Miss Ross and of Marvin Gaye. And Miss Ross is pregnant here, and she's wearing one of her maternity dresses. And it's also very cute that you see some of these dresses on her sister afterwards. So, isn't it cool that you get Diana Ross's dresses to wear after she's not pregnant anymore? And this picture was taken by Berry Gordy. So he was really, really very near to his 2 stars for this album. The 9th and before last song is My Mistake. My mistake was to love you, girl. My mistake was to love you, boy. So it's kind of a song where they're kind of, putting things back to where they are. And the very last song is Include Me in Your Life. Darling, 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 include me in your life. It's such a beautiful song. It's also a way of closing this album. It gives closure to this album, which when you read the liner notes and when you hear about it, you understand that it was not easy for these 2 huge stars to find their place, but they definitely did it. And Miss Ross again proves that she is able to really, really put everything aside and throw herself in a project and make something beautiful out of her work. There's just no disclaimer saying, well, it was difficult and they were hard with me and they were tough on me. No way. She gives you the perfect work, and that's why I love it so much. And what's wonderful is that in her 80s album Swept Away, Diana Ross asked Lionel Richie to write her a song about how much she misses Marvin Gaye, and she sings "Missing You," and it was really a song that was written and dedicated to him. So it shows the love that they had for each other and the respect that Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye had for each other, and the incredible amount of talent that these two stars were able to put together and put aside their egos. Well, Marvin Gaye's ego, to make this amazing album. So I hope you give it a listen or listen to it again. Thank you so much for your messages, and I want to thank you all, and I will see you next week for another amazing Diana Ross solo album.